Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding one of the most critical and honestly unforgiving sections of the navigation rules, Rule 9. If you spend enough time on the water, you're eventually going to find yourself in a narrow channel or fairway. These are the main arteries of maritime commerce and recreation. They're notoriously tight, incredibly busy, and totally unforgiving if you make a mistake. So we're going to break down exactly how to keep yourself and everyone else around you perfectly safe using the official framework. Okay, let's map out our route. On the agenda today, first, the golden rule of channels. Second, the vessel right-of-way hierarchy. Third, safely crossing the channel. Fourth, the rules of overtaking. And finally, blind bends and anchoring. Let's jump right in. Section 1, the golden rule of channels. So, as we enter our waterway, our absolute first priority is establishing exactly where we belong. Under Rule 9A, your baseline rule is actually pretty simple. Keep to the starboard outer limit. Just like driving your car on a two-lane highway, right? You force opposing traffic to their respective right sides, which creates a nice safe passing lane straight down the middle. Now, I know it sounds elementary, but getting this fundamental positioning wrong is literally the absolute quickest way to find yourself in a dangerous situation. You've got to stay as near to that outer limit as is safe and practicable. But check out this inland rule exception. On the Great Lakes, Western rivers, and a few other specific waters, physics totally dictates the rules. A downbound, power-driven vessel that's riding a following current, they actually have the right-of-way over an upbound vessel. And why is that? Well, because a massive vessel getting pushed from behind by a river current simply cannot hit the brakes or steer effectively at slow speeds. They get to propose the manner of passing, and the upbound vessel, which is pushing against the current and has much greater control, must hold position to permit that safe pass. All right, Section 2, the vessel right-of-way hierarchy. Who yields to whom? In open water, right-of-way usually depends on your angle of approach. But tight channels, they have a very distinct pecking order. Take a look at this list. Under Rule 9, vessels less than 20 meters in length, sailing vessels, and vessels engaged in fishing are explicitly ordered not to impede the passage of larger vessels. So even if you think your sailboat technically has the right-of-way under normal open water rules, Rule 9 completely strips that away in a narrow channel. You absolutely must stay out of the way of commercial traffic when navigating these cramped fairways. And hey, this isn't just some polite suggestion, it is a rigid, legal rule grounded entirely in physics. Think about it. A commercial freighter might have a draft of 40 feet. If they deviate from that deep water trench in the very center of the channel, they run aground. They literally can safely navigate only within that narrow strip of water. Since smaller boats draw much less water and can easily maneuver along the shallow edges, the burden is 100% on them to keep that deep water clear. Moving on to Section 3, safely crossing the channel. Further down our journey, we're going to hit a scenario where someone needs to get from one side of the waterway to the other. Crossing a channel really comes down to a strict three-step process. Assess, ensure you do not impede, and execute safely. Rule 9D says you shall not cross if your crossing impedes a vessel which can only navigate safely within the channel. Basically, you need absolute certainty that your maneuver won't force a larger ship to alter its course or slam on the brakes. You assess the traffic, wait for a completely clear opening, and then execute your crossing as close to a right angle as practicable. Get out of that danger zone quickly. But what happens when things don't go according to plan? Imagine the sweat on the brow of a freighter captain. They see a small recreational boat starting to cut across the channel a mile ahead, but the boat's speed is totally erratic. The captain isn't sure if they see the freighter or if they'll clear the bow in time. Things are going to escalate rapidly. 5. That is the magic number you've got to remember here. Under Rule 34D, that captain is going to sound the danger signal, which is at least 5 short and rapid blasts on the whistle. If you're ever out on a boat and you hear 5 rapid horn blasts directed right at you, it means there is an immediate risk of collision. Someone is telling you loud and clear that they do not understand your intentions or they don't think you're taking sufficient action to avoid a total disaster. Okay, Section 4, the rules of overtaking. Let's dive into a scenario where one vessel needs to pass another one moving in the exact same direction. Overtaking is inherently risky, right? Because it forces 2 vessels to operate side by side in a really confined space for an extended period. Passing in tight quarters is basically a procedural handshake. It's a call and response. Intent, agreement, action. You sound your whistle to broadcast your intent, like, say, 1 short blast to pass on the starboard side or 2 short blasts for the port side in inland waters. And only when the overtaken vessel sounds the exact same signal back is the handshake complete. That mutual agreement must be firmly established before anyone actually makes a move. But I really want you to notice this point, the overtaking vessel. Even with an agreement to pass, the legal burden remains entirely on you if you're the one doing the overtaking. Rule 13 dictates that any vessel overtaking another must keep out of the way of the overtaken vessel. The agreement just means, hey, I understand what you want to do and I'll hold my course so you can try. But if things get a little too tight, the overtaking vessel is the one legally responsible for aborting the pass. Finally, Section 5, blind bends and anchoring. Let's look at what happens when the environment itself becomes your biggest threat on the final leg of our channel journey. So, blind bends. They are incredibly dangerous in a narrow waterway. Think of a twisting river bordered by tall trees, or maybe a harbor entrance flanked by massive concrete breakwaters. You simply cannot visually confirm if a massive ship is heading right for you on the other side of that obstacle. The navigation rules explicitly recognize this threat. Rule 9F demands heightened awareness here, treating that obstructed view as a major tactical threat to your vessel. You can't just casually cruise around a blind corner hoping for the best. You are legally required to navigate with particular alertness and caution. This is where we use sound to essentially see around corners. It's brilliant. Before you reach that bend, you're required to sound one prolonged blast on your whistle, a blast lasting about 4 to 6 seconds. It announces your presence to the hidden waters ahead, and if there happens to be another vessel coming the other way behind that obstruction, they are required to answer you with one prolonged blast of their own. It's basically a low-tech, highly effective audio radar system. We'll wrap up with what's probably the most straightforward directive in the book, Rule 9G, avoid anchoring. Unless your engine has literally caught fire or you're facing an absolute unavoidable emergency, never park your boat in the middle of the fairway. You instantly become a massive stationary hazard that forces larger ships into really dangerous evasion maneuvers. So, as you head out on the water, ask yourself if you're truly prepared to react to the signals that separate a safe passage from a total catastrophe. If you are ever in a tight channel and suddenly hear 5 rapid blasts, what is your immediate next move?